Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and this is Mama Life. So, as per a few requests, I'm going to be doing my breastfeeding video today. The nurse tried to help me get baby to latch. Obviously, it's one of the things I've always wanted to breastfeed. It was my biggest thing. And I knew that if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. It's not the end of the world. But I was obviously, like most moms who want to breastfeed, very adamant about it. So I didn't know much about it. I have to admit, I did not do a lot of research about breastfeeding beforehand. I thought, it can't be that hard. It'll just come easily. No, it did not. The nurse showed me how to get the boob into the baby's mouth. And I thought he was latching. The nurse would leave me thinking he'd latched, and that would be it. They'd bring him to me every 2 hours, obviously because I couldn't get up and feed him. He'd go to their baby room. So yeah, I thought he was latching because I didn't know any better. I didn't know what it really felt like. He was making sucking noises and I was looking out for everything. He seemed to have it in his mouth. So I thought, great, he's doing well. He wasn't latching for long, maybe 2-3 minutes, but I thought, given that he's a newborn, he's also learning, I'm learning, so that must be normal. So I left it. I didn't think anything more of it until the first night he spent in my room with me. The nurse came in every 2 hours. Oh my gosh, I still didn't get proper sleep. To ask me had he drank from me, and I would say yes. And he seemed content. He wasn't screaming or crying or anything. He would latch what I thought it was latching, drink from me for a bit, and he'd go to sleep. So I would think, okay, he's had enough, he's full, Wasn't the case, because when they tested his blood sugar through the night, it was sort of just on the borderline of low. And I was hoping, okay, we'll get it up, we'll build it up, he'll be fine. The next morning was our last morning, so it was Saturday morning after he was born. The pediatrician obviously came in to do his check on him, but before that, he had actually properly latched. I could actually feel the difference between what he had been doing and what happened that morning. You could actually feel the difference in the latch. So he'd actually properly latched that morning. And I was of course over the moon because, oh my gosh, he actually got this. This is awesome. Yeah, they came in. They tested for his for jaundice because he was a bit yellow, and that I was okay with. I know that most babies who are born end up with a bit of jaundice and end up having to go under the lights. I was sort of expecting it. I noticed his colour started changing the day before, so I was like, okay, I know this is going to happen, but we'll keep on top of it. I also did a bit of a search and was like, okay, the more he feeds and the more food he gets in, the less the jaundice will start to go away once that starts happening properly. So I thought, that's great. He's now latching properly. No problem. We'll get this under control. So the pediatrician comes in. He checked baby out, checked baby's heart, listened to his heart, listened to his lungs, felt baby. He says baby's perfect, he's healthy. He is a bit yellow, so we are going to put him under the lights for a bit before you go home. I thought, no, that's fine. And then I mentioned to the nurse, I said, okay, but how's his blood sugar? Because I know last night it was borderline, but he latched really well this morning, so I think he got a proper feed in, so I'm sure, it'll be fine now. So they pricked his foot and took his blood sugar, and it was now under the safe line. So of course that sent me off the edge as well. I felt like a terrible mother. How did I not know my baby wasn't latching properly? How did I not know that he wasn't getting enough in? And all those things you race through, it's all your fault, obviously, because that's what moms do to ourselves. The pediatrician was very sweet. He, through all my tears and everything, was patting my back and going, it's not your fault, don't worry, it happens, we'll sort it out, we'll get him back to where he needs to be. And I knew that was the case. I knew he'd be okay. I knew we could sort things out. Unfortunately, it meant him getting formula, which I was not happy about. But I was like, you know what? As long as he's healthy, that's all that matters. Even if it means him not being able to drink from me, I'd rather have a healthy baby. By the time we were allowed to take him home at 3 o'clock, he'd had 2 syringes of, I think, 20 mils. I don't really remember how much it was. And by the time they checked his sugar, it was beautifully like in range of where it needed to be. His color had started going back to pink instead of yellow, and I was over the moon. I was like, fantastic, let's go home, let's take my baby home. I was so excited to take him home. We get home, and my mother-in-law was still here because she was very sweet and she cleaned up my entire house and everything. And she'd also then offered to make us food when we got home, which was really sweet of her. The unfortunate side to that is because of having a C-section, obviously you're a bit sore and uncomfortable, and we don't have a rocking chair in baby's room. So I was hoping to sit in the lounge and feed him for the first time when we got home. But I'm not going to just sit in front of other people, also not having properly got the hang of breastfeeding yet. And so I don't want to cover myself because I want to actually see and make sure baby is doing what he's supposed to be doing, and I'm not going to do that in front of my in-laws. Like, it's just wrong. So I was like, okay, I'll come to the bedroom, I'll prop a couple of pillows up, I'll sit nicely in the bed, and we'll get this thing done. Did not go that way at all. I could not get comfortable. It hurt. Baby was upset because I couldn't now hold him properly. The room was hot. It was so hot that day. So like I eventually screamed for my husband and tell him to come here. Feeling all emotional and stuff and going, this is why I didn't want people here when I got home. I just wanted to be in my own environment and comfortable, and it was nobody's fault. It was just over emotional and everything. Also being a new mom and also having had the news of now he needs to feed, and if he doesn't feed his blood sugar is going to drop, and if his blood sugar drops too far then he ends up in the hospital, and all these things going through your head. It was a great concoction of stuff. So I tried to feed him here. I try sitting on the edge of the bed and try feed him. He's eventually screaming like blue murder screaming, and my baby up until that point hadn't even cried properly, and I was in tears, he was in tears. His mother was very sweet. She came in, she asked if everything was okay. Eventually they were like, okay, no, they're just gonna go home, obviously, because things were just going nowhere. Very nicely, my husband very nicely went, okay, he'll go to the shops quickly, he'll get some formula so we can at least give him something to drink for now. I was not happy, but I thought, again, as long as my baby's healthy and is at least getting some sort of food in, that's all that matters. So yeah, we started off that way. Then I remembered this. My Muka. I ordered this when I was about 6 or 7 months pregnant. I think I ordered this off Takealot. It is the most fantastic thing I could ever have bought, because you can't actually pump colostrum because it's too thick and then actually gets stuck in the tubes and stuff if of your pump, and it doesn't go through properly. Yeah, I used this. I thought, okay, well, let me try this and see what I can get out, and then I'll feed baby what little I can get out from this, and I'll just start trying to pump. So at least that even if he doesn't want to drink off me, he's still getting my breast milk. So he's still getting all the nutrients, getting all the good stuff from my breast milk. This worked wonders. I got all the colostrum out that I could. I would just suction it on and off it would go. Go and do yourself a favor if you are breastfeeding or if you're looking at breastfeeding. Even if you think, like I did, oh, I'm going to breastfeed, get one of these, because when you breastfeed, you put it on the other side and then you're catching leftover milk, let down milk that would otherwise have just gone into your bra or into the breast pad. You're catching it, and you can actually then start building up your freezer stash for when you go back to work, or if you want hubby to help you out with a bottle or whatever, you can start collecting. So do yourselves a favor, go out and get one of these. Whether you are going to exclusively breastfeed or pump or whatever, get yourself one of these. Awesome thing, I started getting out the colostrum in the beginning, and I would actually feed baby from this because you can bend the front here, so it's like cup feeding. I'd use this like that, like cup feeding, and I would pour this into his mouth, and just a little bit obviously at a time until he would swallow, because it was too little to put into a bottle yet. So I used this. And yeah, so that began my pumping journey because he refused to latch. I tried for maybe a week or two. After that, I would try sort of on and off to get him to latch, to try and get him to drink from me, and it would be the same thing. He would completely freak out, scream blue murder, and would want nothing to do with it. So I left it. I was very lucky that in the beginning, when I started pumping, I got lots of milk out. I was very, very lucky. But I did a lot of things. I did breast compressions and breast massages, and I was pumping every time he ate. I would then pump after giving him a bottle. I would then pump as well. So it was like every 2 to 3 hours I was pumping. And at night I would stay up until about 11, 12 o'clock at night to pump my last one, and then I would leave a 5-hour gap. So he would wake up at like 2, 3 o'clock, we'd give him a bottle, and then at 5 o'clock I'd wake up, I'd give him his bottle again, and then I would pump again. So yeah, I would do that. It got exhausting. I couldn't believe how exhausting that was, because I also felt like I had absolutely no time for myself at all, because it was feed baby his bottle, pump milk out so he could have milk for a next bottle, and for me to put away if that's how much I was able to get out. Calculating, was he getting enough? I'll put the calculation in here somewhere. We got it from a lactation specialist. She's a lactation specialist and a nurse, and she gave us the formula of how much breast milk to give according to his weight and his age, I think, something like that. And then you know that's how much milk to give him every so few hours, whatever. So yeah, it was stress, it was hectic, it really was. So he was almost a month old, and we went to my parents' house for Jessica's birthday. I took my pumping stuff with me because obviously I needed to keep up with it, otherwise, you know, they got really sore and like big, and it was very uncomfortable. So I took my pumping stuff with me, and I didn't quite get to doing it like the 2 to 3 hours like I was at home, but I thought, oh, it's okay, I know he's got a few bottles, if I don't get a lot out now, it's fine. I went into my parents' bedroom at about 2 or 3 o'clock, and I pumped in there and realized I got more milk out, putting a bigger gap between my pumping than I did doing it every 2 to 3 hours. So then I realized, okay, I don't have to pump as much anymore. I can pump now 3-4 times a day, and I'll be able to get enough milk out, and I won't have to worry, which was great. So I started doing that. I started doing every 3 to 4 times a day. So I would do it again, still 5 o'clock in the morning when he got up. I would then do it again at the second feed. So he'd feed at 5, he'd feed at 8, and he'd feed at 11. Then 11 I'd pump again. Then he'd feed at 2, he'd feed at 5, I'd pump again. Then he'd feed at 8, and he'd feed at 11 again, and I'd pump again at 11. And then sleep all the way through to 5. So that was my schedule then. And it was working great, no problems, until I think I went through, I think it was a bit of stress over going back to work, and there were just things going on at work that were very stressful. I couldn't be at work. As you know, I run my own daycare, and things were just not going well. I was stressing over that, over having to maybe go back to work earlier than I expected to, which freaked me out because I was not ready to go back to work. I knew I wasn't, and I didn't know how I was going to cope. And because of that, my milk supply dropped. It plummeted. I freaked out. I was like, we started then going through our freezer stash we had. At one point, we were mixing a formula with breast milk, which you are allowed to do. You don't have to, if you are doing a mix between breast milk and formula, you don't have to do a formula bottle and a breast milk bottle. You can mix them together as long as they are the same temperature. Don't put hot formula with cold breast milk, because that's going to, I think, it curdles the breast milk. It doesn't work well. It breaks enzymes and stuff down in your breast milk. So if you are going to mix the two, mix them in the same bottle, but do make sure they are the same temperature. Anyway, off on my tangent. So yeah, we were doing at one point a mix of formula and breast milk, which I was again not happy with. I wanted him to get only my breast milk, but same mantra, as long as baby is healthy and has food, that's all that matters. So we started doing that. I then went and did a bit of research. I found a fantastic Facebook group. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'll put the name of the group here on somewhere over here. I'll also link down their Facebook page down below as well. They are awesome. It's a whole group of moms who are all going through the breastfeeding journey, who, you know, if you are looking for any sort of information, like your little one isn't drinking properly, you know, why this one's spitting up more than that one, this boob doesn't produce that as much as the other boob, you know, all of that. And a whole lot of moms are on the same page. They also have professionals on there, lactation consultants, who are more than happy to give their advice. They also give you page links and stuff to other places that can then give you advice on, you know, what you're going through at that point. So they're really fantastic. So I'll definitely put them down below. So I did my research and I went and I found this breastfeeding group. And I got a whole lot of stuff off there of, again, doing the breast massages, doing the breast compressions, drinking, making sure you're drinking enough water. It's one of the biggest things they always tell you, drink enough water. So if you're not drinking enough water, your body obviously doesn't have enough moisture and stuff to be able to produce the breast milk. So drink enough water. This is the product I'm using at the moment. So this is the liquid gold. They are legendary milk. I don't know, can I get it to focus on it? No. Okay. They're called legendary milk. This is their liquid gold. This is the one that I think helps like thicken your milk and gives it a bit more like thickness and fat to it, so that, you know, you can fatten up your baby if your baby isn't, you know, maybe putting on the right amount of weight, which we were having an issue with our little one. The other product is Pumping Princess, which is also fantastic. This one is to help increase your production and the milk flow. So for me, I found with this, whenever I got like lumps, this would help to sort of get those out as well. The other one they have is Milkapalooza, which is fantastic. This one also helps to enrich your milk and also helps with the milk nutrition and stuff. Great product, and they're all natural and they're fenugreek free, because they actually say that a lot of people are actually allergic to the fenugreek, which I didn't know, because one of the supplements a lot of people go, if your milk production starts to lessen or you want to just increase it because you want to now pump extra to stash, everyone goes, oh, get fenugreek. And I was like, okay, like that's what I'll do, I'll go get fenugreek. And then I found these guys at an expo I went to, and on their bottles it says fenugreek free, and I thought, okay, that's fascinating. So I went and I checked on their website, and they tell you why they're fenugreek free, and then how some people are actually can be allergic to it, and they can actually have an adverse reaction to what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, I started taking those. Fantastic. Oh my gosh, fantastic. My milk production went back up to where it needed to be. They also encouraged enough water, drinking enough water again, getting everything up, and it was great. My milk flow was coming, no problems. And then we were having a particularly rough night. I think he was going through a growth spurt, and I was busy pumping, and he was screaming with daddy, very unhappy. Nothing would help. Put the dummy in and he spit it out. That's when you know he's hungry. And at that point I was just keeping up with my bottles. So my husband says to me, try put him on the boob, see if he'll do it. And I was like, he hasn't gone on the boob in like 2 months. Like, what's going to make him suddenly just latch? Like, that's not going to happen. Little did I know, little man knew exactly what he was doing. Put him on and off he went. And I was just so stunned. I was like, okay, wow, what the hell? But great. So yeah, he drank off me that night. Obviously I don't think he got a lot out because he was still learning how to like properly get that nice deep suck out, because he's used to the bottles where you don't really have to suck on it very much for the milk to start flowing into his mouth. So with the boob he has to really suck to get that right. So he got a bit out and it settled him, which was great. And then gradually from there, every sort of second to third feed, I'd give him the boob instead. And it was working. It was so, I couldn't believe it. It got all the way to the point where I am now exclusively breastfeeding him, except for one feed, which is the one at either 10, 11 o'clock, or on a weekend we'll do it for the 2, 3 o'clock in the morning bottle. The difference between that I found between pumping and him feeding from me, I got a few times from only pumping, I would get like lumps where obviously you got a blocked milk duct, and that was very uncomfortable. At one point it was so sore I couldn't lift my arm properly, I couldn't move. Thank goodness I didn't get as bad as getting mastitis or mastitis. I don't know what it's called. I'll put the word at the bottom, but that's basically where you're getting, it's in Afrikaans this milkworst, so it's like milk fever. You get a fever, you get aches and pains like you got the flu. It's horrible apparently, so I'm very glad I never got that. But yeah, I did find with pumping I got a few of those. And since switching over to, that's also what encouraged me to actually start breastfeeding him more as well. When he latched the first time so nicely, was the second time he latched, I had a bit of a lump in the boob he latched on, and by the time he was done it was gone, and I was like, that is so awesome. Oh my gosh, it doesn't hurt. Whereas with pumping, if I felt one starting, it would take like 3 or 4 pumping sessions for it to go away if I was lucky. Sometimes it would go like a day or 2 before it eventually went away, and it was so painful and uncomfortable. So breastfeeding, no more lumps, no more blocked ducts, nothing. I haven't had anything since he started feeding from me exclusively. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So yeah, that's how it's been going. I did go for 2 days where I exclusively fed him. He got no bottles, nothing, and he was fine. I know one question a lot of new moms worry about when it comes to breastfeeding, and I have to admit I was one of them, is how do you know they've gotten enough? It has got to be one of the scariest things from bottle feeding him to breastfeeding that I did. Because bottle feeding, you know he got enough. You know how much he's drank. You know how much at this feed he had, how much at the other one. You know how much he had. And then you go to breastfeeding him where there are no measurements. You can't see how much he had. He drank for 2 minutes. Was that long enough? He drank for 5 minutes. Was that long enough? You know, you never really, you can't tell. So one of the things the group also helped out with is the easiest way to tell if they are getting enough in are their nappies. If they are having enough wet nappies, so between 4 to 5 wet nappies, and when they little, so newborn, you're looking at a nappy a dirty nappy after every feed, and then when they get to about 2-3 months old, you're looking at a dirty nappy maybe 2 to 3 times a day. And then once they get older, 4 or 5 months, then they can go as long as almost a week before they have a dirty nappy. So as long as they're getting those wet nappies, as long as they're alert and they're awake and they're not like constantly fussy, then you know they've had enough to eat. So yeah, it's one of the biggest worries that I had breastfeeding was, did he get enough? But I have to say, the more we've gotten into this, the longer I've done it, I can now tell, I know he's had enough, because you can see he's drunk enough. He can empty out my boob in like 2-3 minutes, and you can see it's empty. You can feel it's not as full as it was. So like, I don't worry about how long he's feeding off me anymore. I can feel how long and how hard he was sucking to know, okay, he's actually had enough, and then I'll switch him to the other side and see if he'll drink from the other side as well. So the breast pump I use, just in case anyone is interested, is the Tommy Tippy single pump. It is really nice. I like it. I will say this, I don't think it's meant for exclusively pumping. I think it's meant for what I'm doing now, which is pumping every now and again. So I wouldn't get it for exclusively breast pumping. I know one of the best ones to get, and if I had the money I would get it, is the Baby Womb Horrigan double breast pump. It is fantastic. It's got all the little gadgets and gizmos. I'll also link that down below. You can get it on Takealot as well. Yeah, so that would be the best one to get if you're going to be exclusively pumping and not breastfeeding exclusively. But yeah, the Tommy Tippy works fantastically. I've had no issues with it. It's just not as strong as I'd like it to be. Like, I would like just another setting. It's just a bit of a stronger suction on it, just because like I don't feel it quite gets as much out as it should. And also, please, none of this stuff is sponsored. This is all just my own opinion. So that is basically my breastfeeding journey from when he was born to him now. He's now 4 months old and doing fantastically. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments or queries, please leave them down in the comments below, or you can go to my Instagram channel and you can ask me anything there as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, everybody. Bye.